I've seen so many people scroll through a bright product photo, think, this looks perfect for my job, click Add to Cart, and then end up with a laser that barely reaches the far side of the job site or loses its level after a few minutes of use. It's that exact frustration that makes me hit pause before I spend a few $100s on a rotary laser. I want you to know exactly what you're getting before you make the call, because the difference between a tool that actually saves you time and one that just adds another thing to carry around can be huge. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Leica Geosystems Rugby 610 is positioned as a professional-grade rotary laser, and the first thing you'll notice is that it's built for the kind of distances you see on a construction site rather than a weekend DIY project. The claim of up to 2,600 feet of range comes from using the optional RE120 receiver, which is essentially a separate antenna you set up a few feet away to pick up the laser signal. In real life, that means you can line a foundation, set out a road, or grade a large field without having to hop the laser from point to point every few hundred feet. If you're the type of contractor who spends half a day crawling over a site just to keep the laser in sight, this range alone can cut your labor hours in half. Now, range is only useful if the beam stays true. The Rugby 610 advertises an accuracy of 3/32 inch ch at 100 feet, and on the ground that translates to about a 1/4 inch over a 10-foot span. For most building layouts, fence installations, and site grading, that level of precision is more than sufficient. In practice, you'll see the laser maintain that tight tolerance even when the receiver is positioned at the far edge of its range, as long as you keep the line of sight clear. In the field, the biggest thing that throws off accuracy is dust or a sudden gust of wind, but the laser's self-leveling mechanism can compensate up to 5 degrees of tilt, which is generous for uneven terrain. I've watched it level itself after being set on a slightly sloped mound, and it locked in under 3 seconds without any manual tweaking. One of the biggest concerns with any outdoor tool is durability, and Leica's IP67 rating tells you exactly what you'll get. Dust-proof and waterproof down to a meter of submersion. I've taken the Rugby 610 out on a rainy morning to set stakes for a drainage ditch, and the unit continued to operate without any hiccups. The operating temperature range of 14F to 122F means you can leave it on a cold job site overnight and still expect it to fire up in the morning. For anyone who works in seasonal climates, whether that's a northern farm that freezes early or a southern site that sees scorching summer heat, this resilience is a real money saver, because you won't have to keep swapping out equipment that fails at the first sign of weather. Battery life is another hidden cost that many listings gloss over. The Rugby 610 promises up to 60 hours of continuous operation on a single charge, which is impressive for a device that powers a high-visibility laser and a self-leveling motor. In a typical day on a construction site, you'll probably run it for 8 to 10 hours, which means you could theoretically run it for an entire week without needing to recharge, provided you keep a spare battery on hand for the occasional swap. This endurance makes it feasible to rent out the laser for multi-day jobs, a common practice among small contractors who want high-end accuracy without buying the whole system. Now, let's talk about who should actually consider putting this Leica in their toolbox. If you're a professional contractor, a land surveyor, or a site manager who routinely works on projects that span a few hundred feet to several acres, the Rugby 610's long range and robust self-leveling are genuine productivity boosters. It's also a solid choice for anyone who needs a laser that can survive the elements and still be accurate after a full day of work. On the flip side, if you're a DIY homeowner who is only hanging a few shelves, setting a deck post, or doing a small remodel, you'll likely never tap into the 2,600-foot capability. In that case, a lower-priced rotary laser with a 500-foot range would give you the same level of accuracy without the premium price tag. Speaking of price, Leica devices are known for being on the higher end of the market, and the Rugby 610 is no exception. The cost is justified by the combination of range, durability, and brand support, but it's still a sizable investment. If you're on a tight budget, the initial outlay might feel steep, especially if you don't already own the RE120 receiver. The receiver itself is sold separately, so the up to 2,600 feet figure only becomes reality after that extra purchase. That's a hidden cost you have.